Sue Kedgley.
Yes, thank you, Mr Chair. And I would like to speak to Clause 3, which of course is really saying, will this Parliament amend the Employment Relations Act so that Warner Brothers will be happy? And I just want to mention in passing and put some context here that there's a great exhibition at Te Papa at the moment about the 20th century, and there are some fantastic clips of Prime Ministers of New Zealand like David Lange and Norman Kirk standing up in the world, proclaiming our independence against America, standing up for democracy, against injustice. And Norman Kirk, I even wrote it down, he said, "We must be prepared to make our voice heard. We are a small nation, but we will not abjectly surrender to any injustice." But now, in the 21st century, we are rewriting the script. Now we will abjectly surrender to any multinational corporation. We will amend our Employment Relations Act or any other act to make a multinational corporation happy. We have now entered a new era of grovelling our way in the world, and it's a shame that the chief groveller is not here to defend his actions. The question that many are asking is, where is it all going to end?
Point of order, Honourable Trevor
I apologise to the member for interrupting, and I apologise, I think, to my colleagues that I have to do the government's job, but referring to the Prime Minister as the chief groveller, I think, is out of order.
Certainly the member is correct in that an allegation of someone being a groveller was made, but I'm not sure that it was specifically levelled at the Prime Minister in the way the member used it. But again, it's probably appropriate for a timely warning that this is a debate which has been robust, and once we start into name-calling, it escalates to a situation where the Chair has to intervene. Sue Kedgley.
Thank you, Mr Chair. So what people are asking is, where will it end? Now, what will happen if next month McDonald's comes to the Prime Minister, comes to the government, and it says, look, we're going to shut all of our fast food restaurants in New Zealand unless you change the Employment Relations Act and require that all of our workers are contract workers who are not entitled to penal rates or holiday rates. Why wouldn't they, on the basis of this, what is happening here today? Or what about Woolworths, another multinational corporation which owns a very large, the major second supermarket chain in New Zealand? What say Woolworths comes to the Prime Minister and says, we want, unless you change the Employment Relations Act, we are going to shut down, we're going to pull out of New Zealand, we're going to threaten to shut down all of our supermarkets unless you amend the Employment Relations Act. Now, I'm not sure how many MPs in this House have read an excellent book by David Corton. It's called When Corporations Rule the World. And it's described as a modern classic, and it basically asks the question, are governments becoming obsolete and are corporations now in charge? And some have said it is becoming increasingly prophetic each passing day. It is certainly prophetic right here in New Zealand. It is living proof now that corporations rule, if not the world, they certainly rule here in New Zealand. We will amend our Employment Relations Act if any corporation wishes to or threatens to take away their toys and says that we demand that you change our Employment Relations Act. We will willingly make that change. And I think the thing is that what is so unique about what is happening today is that it is so blatant and so overt. Now, all of us who have been around here in Parliament for a while, we know that multinational corporations exercise huge influence over this House. And speaking of the Employment Relations Act, I had an amendment to the Employment Relations Act, my Flexible Working Hours Bill. And the corporations came in here and they threatened that if this bill was passed, they were going to take their workforce overseas, they were going to shut down their factories because amending the Employment Relations Act would be disastrous. But what has happened here? But normally all of this influence of multinational corporations happens behind closed doors. It happens covertly through lobbyists. But this is so overt. We don't even need lobbyists. We just need to send over a whole lot of executives from Warner Brothers, and we will slavishly capitulate and change the Employment Relations Act. Now, the other thing that is extraordinary is usually when a multinational corporation gets to change the Employment Relations Act, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Steve